Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Midnight Studios. Come on in, and have a seat in what I would like to call my slamtuary as I share a little bit of insight of how I began this journey of being a slam head. My journey in becoming a slam head began before a slam magazine ever came out or ever was introduced to the world. Before I had ever seen the Larry Johnson cover inside of the Bose grocery store, I was already on my journey of becoming a slam head before I even knew what Slam magazine was all about. Growing up as a kid, if you wanted to read about basketball, you had to first dive into Sports Illustrated. I usually didn't like to read Sports Illustrated magazines unless there was a basketball player on the cover. Of course, you would read a Sports Illustrated magazine if Wayne Gretzky was on the cover, Nolan Ryan was on the cover, Darryl Strawberry was on the cover. But I usually only liked to read Sports Illustrated magazines when they was really talking about basketball. So when I began to see a Slam magazine and it was basketball from front to back cover, I knew I was going to fall in love with it. But before I became a Slam head, I was a Slam head reading Sports Illustrated. I was probably in the sixth grade, 1992, going into 1993, I think, and I saw a magazine sitting on the library cover that came out in 1991. And here it is a year later, and that magazine was sitting on the shelves of the local library of the middle school that I went to, and it looked brand new. I remember I stared at that magazine and stared at that magazine just like years later. I had stared at the magazine before picking it up and reading it. Of Slam magazine with Larry Johnson on the cover. And I remember the librarian telling me, pick up the magazine, read what's inside of the magazine. Little did I know, she was actually a Boston Celtics fan. She had put that magazine on the shelf for over a year and no one ever picked up the magazine and read the magazine. So a lot of you guys may see Robert Parrish on the back poster. You see Robert Parrish here on the magazine. How many people can say that they're a big fan of Robert Parrish? Well, I definitely can say that I am a big fan of Robert Parrish. I was a bigger fan of Robert Parrish than I was of Larry Bird, and it was all because I read this magazine when I was in the sixth grade in middle school. Reading this magazine taught me a lot about basketball, and that was the reason why I love reading about basketball players in basketball magazines. Robert Parrish was a better player than a lot of us think he was. He was a lot better player than a lot of us think he was when we saw him with the Boston Celtics. Him going to the Boston Celtics and playing with Larry Bird and playing with Kevin McHale and playing in that system, he had to take a back seat in order to win championships. And reading that magazine and reading the article about Robert Parrish taught me a lot about what being a basketball player was all about. Some basketball players don't have to be the main guy. Do you remember a few years ago, or a few decades ago, I must say, when Vince Carter took a lot of heat because he was talking about the fact that he didn't want to be the main guy? And a lot of people were saying, well, what kind of basketball player doesn't want to be the main guy? Doesn't have the idea that he wants to be the main guy? Well, Robert Parrish was one of those guys. Robert Parrish taught me just from reading that article that you don't just have to score the most points to be the best player on the court or to contribute. Are you going to grab defensive rebounds? Are you going to grab offensive rebounds? Are you going to take charges? Are you going to block shots? And that's when I began to learn right then and there in the sixth grade, only the sixth grade, that it takes more than just scoring points to be a basketball player. There's so many different intricate parts of the game that can make you a great basketball player, like we saw in Dennis Rodman. So the reason why I like to keep this magazine close by me, and the reason why I chose to talk about this magazine as I discuss my journey in becoming a slam head, is because I would like for younger kids that's playing basketball today to understand that you don't have to be the guy scoring the most points. You don't have to be the guy that has the fastest handles. You don't have to be the guy that jumps the highest out the gym. You don't have to be the guy that everyone knows. And you can still be a great basketball player. It's about those small things that make basketball players great. So as I began my slam journey, I wanted to give a little bit of props to Robert Parrish, the Chief as they call him, and how reading this magazine would begin to lead me on a journey to become a slam head, to lead me on a journey to fall in love with the game of basketball. So I hope you guys have enjoyed what I have shared with you. I'm pretty sure when I go back and look at this again, I'm gonna see some things that I wish I would have said, but I'm having fun with this, and it's my purpose to have fun with it, and it's my purpose to share. And as you guys can also see, I have the Boston Celtics sweatshirt on that I had to go out and get just because Robert Parrish was on this sweatshirt. I thank you for enjoying the journey. I thank you for coming in. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Until next time, goodbye.